watching AYV Television.
Right, good morning, viewers, and welcome to yet another edition of your weekend show, Weekend Review, which takes a look at major stories during the week and brings together practicing journalists, civil society activists to critically discuss them. Well, Weekend Review reaches you every Saturday at exactly 9 a.m. and a repeat on Sunday at 9 a.m. also. I am Swaleho Vande. In this edition of the show, I have with me William Saul Lamin from the civil society angle, who is here to help me discuss the stories. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
I also have Alphonsus Bani, who is a human rights defender. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
Viewers, you can also be part of the show this morning by sending us your views, comments, and contributions via our Facebook page, the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. It's Weekend Review, and of course, you can be part of the show emphatically by sending us your views, comments, and contributions via our Facebook page, which is the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. I'm your host this morning, Swaleho Vande. We go for our very first story wherein isolated violent incidents were recorded in the just concluded elections in Koinadogo district. During the tallied process at Kabbalah Tallied Center, a commotion ensued on allegations of irregularity raised by the Sierra Leone People's Party. Our reporter Abbas Sise followed the event and now reports.
The two by-elections at Ward 155 and Koinadogo District Council within the early hours of voting started with certain irregularities, as highlighted by Edmond Sylvester Alpha, NEC Regional Returning Officer South, who is on a special mission for the conducted elections.
Being in touch, I was in touch with the field operatives, our field staff. For instance, there was an incident report that came from one St. Balea in Ward 157, wherein I was informed allegedly that some thugs went to the center, they vandalized the center, packed all our materials, burned them down, and at the end of it all, our staff took to the bush. We cannot produce results for those two stations at that center. There was also an incident somewhere, I don't know, I think.
During the tally process, there was an uproar between the two political parties, and this occurred after the SLPP representatives asked NEC to discontinue the process on allegation of voting irregularity. This is how the Tally Center in Kabbalah later turned into. This disruption lasted for over an hour, and it prompted this decision from NEC.
The entire tallying of election results, and we will get back to the two respective political parties and all others concerned with South NEC. And when they tell them South we will inform you accordingly. But looking at the situation and the advice I don't get from the police, we cannot continue this process. The process is therefore suspended until further notice.
What is the take of the two political parties on this current state of affairs? Dr. Kelfa Mara, Acting District Chairman, APC, comments.
We are in the lead comfortably and the margin is wide, and we are hopeful strongly that we win with a very, very large margin. But the challenge is we discovered discrepancies, and you were there. Figures were altered, especially in constituency 046. A particular staff was caught doing that. He altered the figure and replaced it with another. And those figures were changed, manipulated in favor of the SLPP. As we speak right now, the process has been indefinitely suspended, and next says they will inform us as to when we'll have the next round of tallying the result.
On the side of the SLPP, Ibrahim Lakar, National Young Generation leader, had this to say.
From the eve of the election, you also learned about the incident that happened at the chief compound. These are all signs, and even the D-Day, because I monitored the election at Neni Chiefdom, right? I monitored the election at Neni Chiefdom. At the far point there, between the border between Neni and that of Tokolini district, a group of boys, from the other angle there, jump in, they attack the polling center, they vandalize the station and burnt election materials. I mean, these are all things which have been manipulated by the APC.
Before this fracas, NEC regional office supposed to have announced provisional result today in the district, whilst final result announced at the commission's headquarters in Freetown. But with this recent development, would these schedules go on as planned? Abba Sise, AYV News, Konadogo District.
Comprehensive report viewers, it's weekend review. Keep sending your views, comments, and contributions via our Facebook page, the Africa Young Voices Media Empire. Alphonsus Bandi, I'll start this discussion with you. Now, the Konadogo elections, we had 2 by-elections that actually went on there. That's for the district chairmanship and also a ward councillor. And we saw a lot of violence, and we saw a lot of politicians pumping into that district. And at the end of the day, the election was marred with violence, even though NEC had to actually shift everything to Freetown here, where our results were later announced, and we noticed that, in fact, APC won the chairmanship and SLPP won the councillorship. But in all of this, looking at a bigger picture come 2023, if just a district election is being marred by so much violence in our country, and politicians who tend to protect us, who are actually there to give us the atmosphere that is conducive for us to participate in such activities, are now being involved in violence and other skirmishes related to elections in just a district. What will happen come 2023?
Thank you very much. I will not tend to do a negative, or to preempt a negative, situation come 2023, because I am of the opinion that between now and 2023, we may have some changes in approach and whatsoever. So I may not likely suggest that what happened in Kabbalah in Konadogo will escalate to a situation that we will not enjoy the 2023 elections. What I will say is that the situation in Konadogo is unfortunate and it's embarrassing. It's unfortunate because Sierra Leone we have enjoyed, that's one of the most successful aspect of democracy or good governance in this country, when we have different elections, peaceful transfer of power from one political party to another. And we have enjoyed that opportunity and that situation for some time now. The incident that occurred in Konadogo undermines that particular gains we have been enjoying, that Sierra Leone has conducted peaceful transition of democratic elections. Some times ago, like the situation in the constituency 110, we saw where, supporters of political parties, vandalizing NEC materials. And we have now shifted from only vandalizing or destroying a ballot box to a situation where we have now seen ballot papers and ballot box being burnt down. It is worrying. Worrying in the sense that we think the political party leadership, and I keep saying, and I will always repeat it, that the governance system in this country, it is between the ruling SLPP party and the opposition APC party. I will not say other parties will not emerge in the leadership space of this country, but for now, in our own time, we have to acknowledge the fact that If it is not APC, it is SLPP. If it is not SLPP, it is APC. And so if that is what we have, we think the leadership of these two political parties need to remove the people of this country from bondage. They have constantly kept us in bondage, creating this space, creating this atmosphere of fear, tension, and panic because they do not have anything to offer again to the people of this country. If you put in context of the situation in Koinadugu, I will appreciate probably for the ruling party to go there, talk to the people. Naturally, that is the stronghold of the opposition All People's Party, People's Congress Party. And so if there is any opportunity for the SLPP to have some percentage of votes, it gives them hope that come 2023, they may also double that. But you cannot go in a situation where probably it's not your strong goal and you want to make sure that people felt your presence, that you are in party and you will succeed in gaining. If you do that, it creates tension.
So in your view, is that what that happened in the Koinadugu elections?
I'm coming. That is the scenario.
Okay.
And on the other side, the All People's Congress Party believe that that is their stronghold. And there is no way they could create any opportunity for SLPP to even have a vote. And by doing so, they also create problems. So, these two parties are creating problems for the community. District local government election, it is a community-owned election. That is where people express their willingness and support for whosoever they think could govern them in their local community. So we should not see tension arising among those people because they know themselves. They know the candidate APC has put forward, they know the candidate SLPP has put forward, and they know their character. They themselves within that community could assess, not all of us. But come 2023, I will say because it is Koinadugu district, is one area, you see them going down there, concentrating. So if we have the general election, how will you leave your own area trying to get your vote and go to somewhere else?
So you are saying it will not be that tense.
It will not be that tense, even though we still have in areas where they have strong votes.
This is just a smaller election, and the 2023 election has to do with presidential, parliamentary, and every other. It's a general election. And if we cannot handle these petty elections, common by-elections, could we handle the general elections?
That's what I'm saying. It is not the issue of how will I say, a widespread violence. It's an issue of isolated incidences of strongholds. So you will find out that in the 2023 election, in the northern area, you will have some aspect of violence, whether APC and between APC and SLP. In the southern area, that's also going to happen. So those are the isolated areas.
All right. So, Bani, before I come to Saul Lamin, who is patiently waiting, now, we've had NEC announce the results, and SLPP happened to win the councillorship election, whilst APC won the chairmanship election. But again, there is, a serious contest, protest from the APC side. They are saying they are going to take NEC to court because they are not satisfied with the results announced for the councillorship. They believe they won both elections, but NEC had actually infringed on their votes and therefore gave it to the SLPP. So they are going to court because of that.
That is their right.
Is it time for us to actually, start?
No, it's their right. If they have expressed and they have valid reason to express this concern on the situation or the outcome of the elections, they have their right to take the legal procedure.
Okay.
And it will be really unfortunate on the part of NEC if it happens that what the APC are claiming, it is true, it undermines the credibility of NEC for the 2023 election.
Okay.
That is the most dangerous aspect.
So
for me, the electoral violence could be managed, but the credibility of the NEC for people to trust the outcome of the 2023 election, if we don't manage it now, it's a recipe for chaos. That's my own concern.
That's your concern.
Yes.
And that brings me to William Saul Lamin. Saul Lamin, you have consciously listened to Bani, and you've been following the event. Your take on the issue?
Well, after carefully listening to radio, news, and television few days ago, I was a little worried, more especially about the 2023 elections, because we start to see the smoke coming out for 2023. That if there is violence now in 2021, and by 2022, there is going to be a lot of elections activity across the country by 2022. So getting to 2023, I'm sure we'll be having more by-elections. We are not praying for people to actually die or whatever, but we're expecting maybe 1 or 2 by-elections again. So we've started seeing violence, you know, in places like Kwenadugu, one of the peaceful districts in this country, seeing people moving from, well, in fact, I'm a little confused why people have to move from regional offices, from their national offices to the district office, where we have executive members, you know, of various political parties, more especially the APC and SNPP. They have their district executive within those districts. Why do people have to travel from Freetown, from Makeni, from Bo to Kabbalah? What are they actually going to do there? You know, in conducting a chairmanship local council election and, I mean, local ward election. Why have they have to travel to Kabbalah? What are they going to do there? This has been a question that is actually baffling a lot of people, you know. I mean, it's not a do or die thing that if I don't win this election, definitely something is I'm going to suffer 2023. That's not the point. You know, people moving from their own community, I mean, peaceful, and then get to another district, you know, create a lot of mayhem. I'm sure on that very day, shops were closed, you know, schools, there will be problem with school-going children and all of that, creating a lot of problems. So lawlessness, indiscipline, and a recklessness to that extent, to me, is unacceptable. And as civil society, we have to condemn that one totally. And this is going to be a wake-up call for NEC and the PPRC. They really have to tighten up their belts properly. Because looking at just a district election, having this kind of situation, you have to remove the ballot materials, the election materials from Kabbalah to Freetown for you to be able to count them, you know, instead of the district level where you can have district executive from both parties. I mean, presence to be there to see exactly what will be the result. You take the box to Freetown and then allow national
So, in your view, do you think that was the wrong step taken by NEC? That the elections should have actually, I mean, the results should have been counted there, even when there were a lot of skirmishes around that. Don't you think it was safer for them to relocate it?
That was what actually was supposed to be the case, for them to be able to count the result there. But because of the situation, I think that will only be the only situation for NEC, even for themselves, not only for the election materials, but even for themselves. Because you look at police officers, I was just watching the television, you saw police officers well armed, and they were also, you know, sometimes they have to hit them. You know, so you can imagine somebody who is not armed. So that was the right decision from NEC.
So, William, now the APC is contesting the councillorship election. That indeed they won, but NEC gave it to the SLPP.
As my brother rightly said, it's their right. It is better you go through the right channel, which is, I mean, getting to the judiciary, explaining your problems, your challenge, whatever issue you have, and then the judiciary will come in together with NEC to have a final decision, you have a final say. So, I mean, it's your right.
So from what you've been seeing, I know you've been following elections here, you've been following a lot of issues. Do you have credibility in the current leadership of the NEC?
For now, yes. But looking at the by-elections as we go on, we have to start, I mean, carefully monitoring NEC to see exactly, because their credibility is at stake. More especially getting to 2020.
When you say for now, yes, what do you mean?
For now, we cannot judge, because the person who is there is a new somebody who is heading NEC now. Is a very new, I mean, person. He has just conducted maybe 1 or 2 elections. And as I said, we're expecting more by-elections getting to 2023. So what we are doing as civil society, always monitoring electoral issues. We are monitoring the process. We are monitoring the commission to see exactly if getting to 2023, they will be, I mean, defeated people to actually conduct the elections or not. No, but it is early for us to preempt now that they are not doing well or they are doing well. Because they are not responsible for the fracas that actually took place in Kabbalah.
Now, in his submission, Bani mentioned that indeed Koinadugu is one of the strongest holds of the APC, and that one of the reasons for which violence erupted was as a result of the SLPP wanting to actually show that, yes, they also have people there, they can win seats there, and so on and so forth.
Well, I have a contrary view with that one, because I don't want to even say a particular political party have a stronghold in XYZ district, whether you are coming from Kailaon or wherever.
Oh, really?
Yes, with Kono. Over the years,
Kono has been seen as a swing state.
That is it.
So, but Saul, taking from what Bani said, that indeed Koinadugu is one of the strongest holds.
If you go and check records, if you go now and check records, you will find out that some years back, Koinadugu was a stronghold of the SLPP. Go on and on, it became stronghold of APC. You understand? So it moves. You know, so
are you saying there is no stronghold as far as politics is concerned?
It's not supposed to be. They are, but it's not supposed to be that way.
Okay.
Because as Sierra Leonean, you have a right to go into any district to vie for position.
Of course.
If you are a Sierra Leonean. You understand? Because this stronghold thing is actually creating a whole lot of problem. That is why you see some people actually even going for independent candidates. Because they will tell you this is a stronghold of this political party, and so therefore we are not going to give this particular symbol to XYZ individual. So that person transforms himself to independent candidate, and we are seeing independent candidates within the councils. We are seeing them at parliament and all of that. You know, so we cannot mortgage or sell a particular district to a particular political party that this is their stronghold. You know, because as I said, if you go to the archive now of NEC, you can see that years back, Koinadugu was actually a stronghold of SLPP and some other districts. But with time, you see them change. There are some districts in this country, some years back, they were a stronghold of PMDC. But you go there now, they will tell you, no, it's now the stronghold of SLPP or the stronghold of APC. So I'm not actually going in for stronghold.
But are there strongholds in Sierra Leone for political parties? The answer is yes. So going into another district, going to someone's stronghold, trying to pull out, well, that is not a recipe for chaos.
Well, I don't want to agree that a particular district is a stronghold of a particular political.
Yes, I see Bani wanting to come in. Yes. All right. Yes, Bani. Before we take our next story, maybe your last.
I think what we need, probably all of us to understand, is that all political parties have a political base.
And their base is what we call their
what you refer to as your stronghold, because that makes you you have to have a political base that you can trust, that you can build your foundation to expand to other areas. For SLPP, their political base is more of the south and the east. So they are now trying to make sure that they build that base by expanding, getting other blocks in the north and some part of the northwest, so that they can build a national coalition that they can continue to win the election come 2023.
Okay.
And so that is what they are doing. And now when you look at the opposition want to make sure that they don't allow the space for SLPP to come in. And the SLPP, the ruling party, also want to penetrate. And so that's the clash. I don't want you to come in. I want to come in. Whether it is force and whether I'm going to use force to block you not to come in. So that tension.
This is my
that's where we have the clash.
Okay. All right. Okay. Viewers, keep sending your views, comments, and contributions via our Facebook page. The program is Front Page, and of course, in the studio this morning, I have Alphonsus Bani, who is a human rights defender, and also William Saul Lamin, who are here to help me discuss the rest of our stories. We'll take our next story. We are in after 223 years under Death Penalty Act. President Julius Maada Bio has abolished the death penalty in Sierra Leone by appending his signature and giving directives for it to be abolished from the law books of Sierra Leone. However, there were 7 death sentences count to the president in 2020 and 94 under the sentence of death by the end of 2020. Well, our own rants for the Lubimexiga has the story.
Today's move by President Julius Maada Bio to abolish the death penalty and capital punishment is part of fulfilling a personal campaign pledge. Sierra Leone's 1991 constitution had allowed the use of death penalty for aggravated robbery, murder, treason, and mutiny. Capital punishment will now be replaced with life imprisonment, the Fountain of Honor and President of the Republic of Sierra Leone disclosed.
As a nation, we have today exorcised horrors of cruel past. When I first proposed abolishing the death penalty in its entirety and for all capital crimes, there was wide skepticism, cynicism, and outright hostility. We will no longer execute fellow citizens for political retribution, for deterrence of crime, or for crimes. We believe that the act is unfair, disproportionate, and immoral. It brutalizes our values, our laws, and our conscience as a nation. That across the highest respect for human life is unlikely to turn on itself. The Commission then recommends the immediate repeal by Parliament of all laws authorizing capital punishment, but of course, who had the spine or political will or strength may be dare to say the bold vision to do it, completed the promise we made as a nation. 20 years on, the death penalty is finally and totally abolished in the Republic of Sierra Leone.
Chief Justice of the Judiciary of Sierra Leone referred to this move by the government as a relief for them as judges.
What is the effect of the abolition of the death penalty? In practical terms, it means judges will no longer be required to pronounce that gruesome sentence by first undressing with the removing of their wigs in place of a sinister black draper or cloth as head covering while pronouncing these words. Alex Tetekor, first accused, you will be taken to a place of execution where you will be hanged by the neck until you die. May the Lord have mercy on your soul. You have 21 days to appeal. Well greeted by severe wailings in the courtroom with the chief staff shouting, "Silence in court!" This is relief for us, the judges.
Ransford Louis Metzger, AYV News in Freetown.
All right, many thanks to our own Ransford Louis Metzger for that report. Bani, I'll start with you again. You are, of course, the Executive Secretary for the Human Rights Defenders Network. And now, you have been crying so much, hey, death penalty should be abolished, even though there are so many negatives around it, but yet still, we've seen His Excellency actually appending his signature to the abolition of the death penalty. What does this mean to Sierra Leone?
It means that we as a nation, we have joined the class of civilized nations, a class where they are now looking at alternative means of punishing the human being. And so we as a nation, we have demonstrated our willingness that we will no longer continue to stay in the dark ages of handing down the death penalty on citizens of this country. And it is also good as a government